Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Ana Martinez. I work at Sustainable Innovations Europe, and I'm going to be the moderator of this webinar from the UrBIOfuture project. I just turned on my camera to say hello to all of you so that you can see my face and who is the person behind this. But I'm going to turn it off during the webinar itself so that you have access to the full screen to see all the materials that we are going to see and watch. Please don't hesitate to send me a message through the chat or to communicate with us. Raise your hand. There is also a button to raise your hand in case you need anything, and I will be doing my best to reply all your questions and help you throughout this. Okay, so I'm going to turn off my camera now to show you the presentation in full screen. So this is the first webinar of the UrBIOfuture project, BBI project, that is aiming to bridge the gap between the educational programs that exist nowadays in the bioeconomy and which are the skills needed by the industry. So the title of the webinar is Introduction to the EU Bioeconomy Career Opportunities, and this is the agenda that we are going to follow today. So first of all, we are going to see an introduction to the bioeconomy and its job foresight. Then we are going to move on to see some more details of the UrBIOfuture project, an introduction to it, which are the skills needed in the bio-based industry, and which are the educational programs that are addressing curricula in the bio-based sector nowadays. After that, we are going to see the pilot case study of BioRookie, and finally, which are the challenges ahead and the UrBIOfuture experience. So now that I'm introduced myself and I've introduced the agenda, I would like to know a bit more from you to see, have some feedback from who you are and what's your background. So I'm going to share with you this quick test, and I would be really grateful if you could reply briefly to these sentences. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes.
Beh, qua rispondo solo io, Miki.
Sì, no, ma l'avevo già fatto.
L'avevi già... ok.
Okay, we have half of the answers now, so we are going to give a couple of minutes more for everyone to fill this in, and then we will start with the first presentation.
ക്ലിയർ ഇല്ല, ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ കേൾക്കില്ല.
Okay, half a minute more. So those of you who still didn't fill it in, please start finishing. And in half a minute, we are moving to the first presentation. Okay, we are finishing this now. I think those of you who didn't finish it, you can do that afterwards. I think you will be receiving an email where you can fill in this test as well. And now I'm just gonna go and play the first presentation. It's by Vito, one of the partners of the UrBIOfuture project. And I really hope you enjoy it.
Hello everyone, I am Dieter Kuipers from Vito, the Flemish Institute for Technological Research in Belgium, and we are part of the UrBIOfuture consortium. I will provide some more context to the results which will be shown next. What will I be talking about? My presentation is in four. The first part is about the bioterminology. Second, I will explain why we are talking about bio-based economy, bioeconomy, and so on. And I will also show some frequently cited employment figures. And then last but not least, I will explain what the Bio-Based Industries Consortium Joint Undertaking is. The Bio-Based Industries Consortium Joint Undertaking is actually financing this project. But of course, first of all, what are we talking about? There is some kind of Babylonian confusion in this bioterminology. We were talking about bioeconomy, bio-based economy, biotechnology, and all these different terminologies. And that's because, of course, a definition can soon become political. It has financial implications and so on. And especially in this sector, it's difficult as it's an emerging sector. And it's also cut across many different sectors. There are some traditional sectors which are including bio-based technologies, bio-based feedstocks, and so on, and then it becomes difficult. But in general, I would say, when we talk about bio-based, it is actually as opposed to fossil-based. We are replacing fossil resources by biomass. But of course, let's start with the bigger picture, bioeconomy. Bioeconomy is composed of biomass production. And second, I will show it next, is biomass use. Biomass production is typically the traditional sectors of agriculture, forestry, and so on. And of course, parts of the industry, which is producing biomass through industrial processes. And of course, there are a lot of waste products. So we have biomass as a residual stream. that can be used. Then we have biomass use, and biomass use, the biggest part for biomass use is actually the food sector, which is food and feed. A lot of production in agriculture is actually going to food and feed. But of course, there are some other sub-sectors like where they process bio-based materials and products. This can be traditional sectors like the wood sector, where they've always been using bio-based materials. But of course, more and more companies in the chemical sector are also using biomass as feedstocks. So there are hybrid sectors here. And then we have the bio-based energy, the typical bioenergy sector, where they are replacing fossil energy by biomass. And of course, in the industrial and environmental technology, there are a lot of processes which are based on biological processes. And what is now usually considered as the bio-based economy, and I'm using this figure from a document from the Flemish government. All the resources are that I use are in the last slide of this presentation, so you can always look this up. This is what is generally seen as the bio-based economy. So we actually look at where biomass is being used, and we exclude a biomass used for food and feed. But of course, it's not always that clearly defined, and there are many overlaps and interactions. Of course, there are a lot of waste streams in the food and feed sector that can be used as a feedstock for bio-based materials, chemicals, and so on. What is the focus of, for example, the bio-based industries consortium is, of course, this industrial, this bio-based focus. It's looking at how can we use feedstock for chemicals and materials. Of course, why are we looking at this? There is an increased policy support, mainly because we should get rid of our fossil resource dependency for a lot of reasons that are in this list. I'm not going to read them all out loud. And second, there are a lot of opportunities. Of course, if we are going to use more feedstock, it will provide some opportunities for regional and rural development. We will be able to produce a lot of new chemicals through biorefineries, and of course there's a lot of opportunity to use wastes and byproducts. As said, there are many sustainability opportunities, but this doesn't mean by definition that it will be sustainable. It's not just by changing a feedstock that we will get other problems solved. We will not just solve the sink problem. We will not make production more sustainable. Look at the 15 years of biofuels policy. There have been some problems with the production of these feedstocks. And of course, when we look at the sink problem, if we produce exactly the same materials, if we use exactly the same materials, we will end up with the same plastic soup. So we just don't have to change only the feedstocks or technologies, but we also have to change society as a whole. And a bio-based economy is only sustainable if it is part of a circular economy. And now towards the socioeconomic impact of this sector, let's look at employment. Okay. If you look at the EU bioeconomy in 2015, so that's the broader picture, it includes agriculture and so on, about 18 million people were employed in the bioeconomy. And of course, half of it was in agriculture and 25% in food, beverages, and tobacco. If we now would like to look at the bio-based economy, it's a bit more difficult, as said before. It's an emerging sector, it's a hybrid sector. It's very difficult to pinpoint exactly how many people are working there, but I think a good proxy would be the industrial biotechnology, as it is a driving sector behind bio-based products. And in 2016, UrBIO, they did a study, and they calculated that in 2013 about 94,000 full-time equivalents were working directly in the industrial biotechnology. Of course, this industrial biotechnology creates employment effects upstream. Everyone who has to produce chemicals, feedstocks, and so on for this biotechnology. It, of course, creates employment downstream, everyone using their products. And of course, there is also an indirect effect. Altogether, this amounts to 500,000 people employed in the industrial biotechnology in Europe. And through the calculation of 2 scenarios, they calculated that by 2030, this will double or triple. Of course, important to say also is that there is an important leverage effect of this employment in the direct industrial biotech, is that if we look at it, if we add 1 full-time equivalent in this direct sector, it will add 4 full-time equivalents in the value chain. Last but not least, the Bio-Based Industries Consortium joint undertaking. This joint undertaking is financing this project, and it's actually a public-private partnership between the European Union, the Commission, and the Bio-Based Industries Consortium. They gathered different funds, they put them together to go for a stronger European bio-based industrial sector. They mainly focus on the feedstock, which should be sustainably produced. They would like to increase the productivity and look for new supply chains. Another important focus is the biorefineries, where a lot of new products can be made. So there's a lot of R&D money going into that, and they will set up demonstrators. And of course, they will have to work on markets, products, and policies. So to develop a market and to optimize policy frameworks. And of course, part of this last focus is our project, where we look into employment opportunities and so on. Okay, my last slide. These are the references that I used for this presentation, and then I think that's my presentation, and I hope the next presentation will be interesting, where the results will be shown. Okay, goodbye.
Okay, everyone, very interesting presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Now we are going to move on to the next one, which is by the Autonomous University of Barcelona, these project coordinators, which are going to give us a glimpse as well of the UrBIOfuture project. They are going to introduce us to this great project. So here it goes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is Dulce Tienda Martagón from the Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, UAB. UAB is coordinating this exciting project that integrates a dialogue between industry, research, and academia in order to provide educational answers to bioindustry challenges in the development of their professional needs for 2030. About this project. This one-year project started in May this year and will finish in April 2020. It is a very ambitious project where many activities and events will be developed as part of the UrBIOfuture experience. As you will see, if you stay tuned with us, we're a consortium of 9 partners, and we have received near 1 million euros to implement this project, which is part of the EU H2020 program funded by BBI Joint Undertaking, which is a public and private initiative. This is our great consortium formed from 9 different European countries and a variety of backgrounds from research centers, technological centers, SMEs, and academia. And these are our main objectives in this project. We're halfway through the project right now, so we will present in this webinar our current results on objectives 1 and 2. We're currently working on objective 3. So objective 1 is the mapping of educational programs addressing curricula on bio-based activities, and 2, understanding bio-based industry needs for 2030. Now you will hear our presentations on the main outputs of the industrial survey and the educational programs mapping. I would like to also mention that most of our reports are public, and the links will be duly posted in our webpage for your reference. Please keep in touch and do not hesitate to contact us anytime if you have any questions or comments that you would like to share with us. Thank you.
Okay, so as you've heard our colleague Dulce, she explained that one of the key objectives in the project is to understand the existing needs and lacks in professional profiles and skills. So to understand which profiles will the industry need in 2030. Our colleague Anders from Agrobusiness Park, another one of our partners, is going to explain us now the work they've carried out related to this.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Anders Peter Adamsen. I'm from Agrobusiness Park in Denmark, and I will give you some information about a survey we did on your needs of your industry of skills and competences in 2030. For your outline of my presentation, we introduced you to a work package 2, which was a work package we did this in. And this was based, the design of the questionnaire was based on some initial work in focus groups, and I'll give you a description of the survey and some challenges related to a data collection and presentation of conclusions from the analysis, and also how we will use the results. The aim of the survey was to understand your future educational needs of the bio-based industries in 2030. And the questionnaire, the survey will give information, and also when we compared with a similar survey of the educational programs offered by the educational institutions in Europe, should give a more accurate alignment between your offered educations and your sector's needs. In order to design the questionnaire, exploratory work was done in focus groups, and we did interviews, not us, but all your partners in your UrBIOfuture project, did interviews with professionals in 8 different countries. And we collected this information to define indicators and questions to be included. And information should support your understanding of the gaps between your industrial needs and your delivered training or your offered training programs. And also doing all this, and especially when we talk about specific competences, we also used this strategic innovation and research agenda from the Bio-Based Industries Consortium. The questionnaire itself consists of some sections. There was a general information about the respondents. There was a section about with questions on general competences and expected educational levels in 2030. And there was a similar section with specific competences. And then there was a section with questions about what the respondents regarded as the most important competences in their opinions. And the whole time to complete this survey was around 45 minutes. And the questionnaire was made in English, in German, and in Spanish, and it was sent to more than 2,000 stakeholders in Europe, stakeholders in the bio-based industries. And it was multiple choice questions, and then there was some open questions, so people could give more detailed information. And it was done in an online tool called Lime Survey. Of these 2,000 stakeholders, or more than 2,000 stakeholders, about 500 responded, and around 150 actually finished the 2 first sections and were included in the analysis. And here are some of the results. Yes, there is a description of the respondents. Most of the people came from manager or professional positions, and the educational levels was that there was master and PhD levels dominating, and in general people have more than 6 years experience in the bio-based industries. And if you look at the distribution of the company sizes, it's okay distribution between small companies and big companies. This is a number of employees. And here is just very short, where did people come from? So where was the headquarters and where was people working, the respondent working. Most of the people actually came from Spain, but also from Germany, Denmark, and Belgium, and then it goes down, as you can see on your picture. And if we look about which industrial sector they came from, then biotechnology was dominating, but also agriculture and pharmaceuticals, chemical and food products. Okay, so now we go to some of the results. First, I will go to what was scoring of the general competences by respondents. We ask the respondents, which of all these do you think are most important? And we calculate a score. You can see that in the right column here, where 100 was the highest, and then it was proportional downwards. And research and innovation was scored highest or ranked highest, but also personal initiatives and entrepreneurship was quite high, and then it goes down. And when we came to the general competences section, we have these different competences people were asked, and in each time they were asked about this one, and then was some sub-competences. And there's a lot of data in the report, so I'll just give some examples. So this for the one that was highest prioritized or ranked by a respondent. And here you can see some of the sub-competences, which one you think is most important. And here it is, for instance, innovation and change. And then you here can see a score which is 100. And then you can see different educational levels. So you have the professionals here, you have undergraduate, you have master, and you have PhD, and you have a distribution here. And that's what people expect in 2030. That's a qualification the respondents expected people to have in 2030 in order to carry out these skills. And if we go to a specific competences section, which is mostly relevant for bio-based industries, we have these 5 different categories. And again, I just show one example. This is also the one that scored highest in what the respondents said was needed. And here you have this was specialist in bio-based sector, business and market development. And for instance, here the bio-based market knowledge and techno-economic expertise was ranked highest, and they expect 61% of the people hired in 2030 or employed in 2030 to have a master degree. As I said, it was a lot of information. So more, how will these results be used? And it will be compared with a similar survey of the offered educational programs that also be presented today. So, and based on that, there will come up a comparison, and there will be some ideas about what is needed, advices for educational programs in EU in the future. So, and that's our contact informations. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so after this thorough explanation, let's move on to see what the academia and educational programs offer. The Autonomous University of Barcelona will explain us the research they carried out to find out what are the current programs in Europe. Please, if you have any questions, you can send them through the chat. So just you can send them through the chat, and we will get back to you or try to get back to you with an accurate explanation. So let's now see what are the educational programs.
Okay, now I will show you some of the results of our mapping exercise. This mapping exercise is one of the main objectives of this project. With the achievement of this objective, we have gathered the data required to perform the analysis to identify the gaps between industrial needs and current educational offer. As Anders explained earlier, the basis of this study is the account of previously identified sets of general and specific competencies and their corresponding sub-competencies. The mechanisms used to identify these sets of competencies and sub-competencies were interviews performed to relevant stakeholders from industry, a dynamic workshop where UrBIOfuture's working group members and industrial expert group were invited to contribute, as well as several reference documents and reports. In addition to these sets of competencies, other variables were observed in the analysis of these educational programs. For example, the type of program, the didactical methodologies used, and the involvement of in-company activities. With this study, we can also map the contents and sectors of applications of the programs that these programs are addressing. It is important to note, as Anders explained earlier, that all the items used for the mapping of educational programs are cross-referenced with the industrial survey in order to enable the gaps identification. So we identified 11 general competencies and 5 specific competencies, each of them including a set of related sub-competencies. On the screen, you can see the 11 general competencies. And these are the 5 specific competencies. We used a Google template to collect all the information in a comparable way and in English, which was also a challenge, especially with lower education programs that are usually published in the national languages only. So for this mapping information gathered, we ended up with 1,228 educational programs across 26 European countries, though we finally analyzed 912. This sample reduction is the result of discarding identical programs implemented by different institutions. The sample analyzed included programs from different educational levels. 12% of them were PhD programs, 46% were master's programs, 35% undergraduate, and 7% vocational and education and training. It was easier to find higher education level programs related to bioindustry because they tend to be international, or there is a mobility component which is not in the vocational education and training programs, which are more local. The types of program analyzed, most of them were on-site, A few of them were blended, and it says 0% online, but actually there was only one master's that we found with an online methodology. And some of them, like 12% of them, did not show any information on this regard. Regarding in-company training, which is a very important component of these type of programs, the good news is that 55% of them showed this component in their training, whereas 10% didn't include this collaboration with companies, and unfortunately 35% did not provide this information. Regarding the didactical methodology used in these programs, we have 27% masterclass, which is the traditional teaching lecture-based. 21% though is laboratory activities, which give us an explanation also on the type of training that is performed, which is very experimental as well. 13% of these programs use project-based learning, 9% case studies, 8% collaborative learning, and 7% problem-based learnings. Regarding the academic field, according to the European skills, competencies, qualifications, and occupations, and the application sectors, which is the industrial sectors they address, these are the most cited in all the programs: scientific and technical activities, agriculture, forestry and fishery, energy, water supplies, sewage and waste management, manufacturing of food, beverages and tobacco, human health and social services. Regarding industrial application sectors, biotechnology, agriculture, food products, chemical sector, bioenergy, feed and pharmaceuticals. And this is it. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. So we've had now quite a technical explanation of the research and studies that this project is carrying out. So now we are going to move to a more practical part, let's say, in which we are going to see, first of all, the pilot ecosystem that VTT has created in Finland.
Good morning. I will present the BioRookie case study, creating a pilot ecosystem as a training platform. Objective of the case study is to examine the role of research and piloting infrastructures in building dynamic ecosystem for education in bio-based industries. Pilot infrastructures enable industry to bring bioeconomy innovations from laboratory into the industrial practice. Early stage collaboration with such a facilities substantially lowers the financial risks for the innovating company and speeds up commercialization of their products and the processes. In this case study, we will evaluate how can research and especially piloting infrastructures be efficiently utilized in education, and how we build an open, dynamic, multi-actor ecosystem for business, research, and action around these facilities. In the project, we will perform a case study in Finland, Helsinki capital area, where VTT has one of the largest bioeconomy pilot facilities in Nordic countries. VTT's BioRookie Pilot Center is an integrated enabler to accelerate higher value business in bioeconomy. For example, in thermochemical conversions, biomass processing, textile fibers, and process chemistry. In collaboration with the stakeholders, we will identify the needs, potential partners, cooperation options, expected benefits, main barriers, and key practices for the collaboration. And we will build plan for the BioRookie in collaboration with stakeholders from relevant educational institutes such as universities, vocational schools, and high schools. And based on the case study, we will generate the general concept to guide other regions how the research and pilot infrastructures can be efficiently utilized in training and education. I will summarize the activities, what we have done so far. So we have organized the focus groups interviews to find out the industry needs for the education in 2030. Then we have created a questionnaire where we get the 22 answers about the collaboration options in Finland. And based on the feedback from the questionnaire, we have organized face-to-face interviews with the educational institutes in Helsinki capital region to clarify possibilities for collaboration, for example, providing training bases for the students, providing laboratory spaces for the project work, organizing courses or study modules together, hosting the visits of students or teachers, and providing opportunities to network with other bioeconomy actors. And then we organized the workshop to go a little bit deeper to concretize the action plan in 6th of November. And all the educational institutes around the area present there that are relevant to BioRookie. In addition, we had the representative from the city and the network of the professionals. And we discussed about the collaboration in education around the BioRookie and how to increase the attractiveness of bio-based industry and what kind of research collaboration we could organize together with the BioRookie pilot plant. And next step is to report outcome of the work, and in the upcoming meetings we are happy to share with you the results and discuss details outcome of the study. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Paulina. And now, after this, well, you have probably realized that the bioeconomy is facing a great number of challenges. So now we are going to move to see which are those challenges and what are we doing in order to face them and overcome them. So our colleagues from CTA are going to present this.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gloria de la Viña. I work in CTA, and I'm going to talk to you about the challenges ahead in the European bio-based economy. In the document, the Circular Biosociety in 2050, it has been identified several challenges that are going to be the key challenges really to get into the point we want to be in 2050. But before that, I would like to talk to you about the exercise of imagination that has been done to produce this document. That it was about saying, imagine the best future is possible. Okay, imagine how would like to have Europe in 2050. More than 20 associations, platforms, organizations active in the bio-based economy agreed in imagining that in 2050, Europe will have a sustainable and competitive bio-based industry, providing jobs and growth that contributes to a circular biosociety. And in this circular biosociety, informed citizens choose a sustainable way of life, supporting an economy that couples economic growth and societal well-being and respect for the environment altogether. Okay, so considering this start point, these are the challenges to be ahead. Okay, one is about food, foster food security for a growing world population and meet demand for sustainable products. The second is about the planet, contribute to its sustainability. The third is about jobs and growth, create jobs and growth in the circular bioeconomy. And the fourth is to achieve altogether as society as a whole, a circular bioeconomy. It could be possible that any other challenge. Could you imagine any other challenge that we could add to this four? I'm going to keep this question open until the end of my presentation, okay? But just keep it in your mind. So about food. Okay, food is, as you can imagine, very important thing. So, but what are we going to do to get into this wonderful situation that is described in the text of this slide? We will need for that to valorize all the industrial co-products and byproducts, and also the waste that all of a society are producing. We will need to think about the circularity paradigm. We will need to be very careful about enhancing biodiversity and preserving the environment. So it's only in that way, in 2050, we will be able to say, okay, Europe is now having an integrated and innovative circular operation, able to produce food, feed, bio-based products, services and bioenergy, and at the same time being able to preserve the ecosystem. What about the planet? Okay, where we want to be in 2050 in Europe? Well, we will need really to be very careful about the water use. We need to be very careful about energy efficiency. We need to base all our bioeconomy in renewable raw materials and energies, trying to reach zero waste, apply eco-design, and minimize the pollution. Okay, so in this way we will be able to say again, 2050 is we managed really to have the Europe we wanted. That is a sustainable, circular, bioeconomy uses natural resources responsibly and eliminates pollution of the biosphere. The first challenge, enormous challenge, is about jobs. Jobs. We will need to count a lot with the industrial sector, of course, but in a way that, I mean, they will need really to collaborate in a very innovative way. They will need to collaborate, having different point of views about how to make business. They will need to introduce the social responsibility very much into the criteria and the ways to do the things. So in this way, it will be possible to involve all the type of industries connected to reach the market from the primary sector, and also to be able to involve, to share value and risk in all the steps of the production of a bioproduct, even the risk that is related with finance. Okay, so if that can happen, if all the industry are able to collaborate in an innovative way, including all the actors as strategic partners from primary sectors to the market, it's expected that jobs will be there for the people, and the economy will grow. Fourth challenge is really an integration of all the others that I have already mentioned, really to get the 1, 2, and third challenges. The whole society has to work together and collaborate, which is the major challenge, I must say. Okay, so what has to happen? For example, active citizens will need to work to co-design with the industries novel bio-based products and services to cover their whole needs. Or, for example, another very important thing to happen is that all industries, including, of course, primary sector, retailers, converters, governments, research institutions should cooperate with academia in order to to design together and update the education offer, because just in that way we will get the offer needed to train and educate people to really build up all this bio-based economy. So in 2050 we'll be there if we effectively innovate and create networks and between many different stakeholders like knowledge centers, industrial actors, investors, municipalities, and we do that all along Europe, creating boundaries at many different scales in the whole geography, and of course competences as well. In this way, everybody will be informed and participating citizens. So, as I told you at the beginning, a part of these challenges that are really very interesting, do you think that there is any other challenge to take into consideration? Well, I think that considering that you will be there and I will be there, what do you think that is going to happen with your future in this bio-based economy under construction? What is going to be there for you, for me, for everybody? Is your future, my future, one or the other of the challenges to take into consideration, because we will need to be really actors of this wonderful area that is the bio-based economy, that we will be full of opportunities. Do you feel it like that? Do you feel that it seems very challenging, very risky, or on the other hand, you feel that it's full of new possibilities? So I invite you to keep an open eye and an open mind to try to listen very good, with a lot of attention, the next presentation by my colleague Maria Garcia, that is going to talk about the UrBIOfuture experience.
Hello, good morning. I'm Maria Garcia from CTA, and as my colleague Gloria has previously said, I'm going to present you the key aspects of the EU Biofuture experience. The Biofuture experience is conceived as a journey, a progress, or a passage that we allow the European industry to move forward and to reach the level of excellence that new bioproducts and processes demand in such competitive sector. In order to achieve such goal, a group of materials, events, and an educational program draft will be produced by April 2020. It is expected that such an output will allow the European society to advance, decreasing skill mismatches, attracting new talents, and unlocking its potential. The whole experience will be composed by the UrBIOfuture project website is www.urbifuture.eu, where all the UrBIOfuture experience toolbooks will be publicly available. On the website, all the UrBIOfuture experience implementation events will be announced, so stay tuned. The website will be a tool itself to open a constant and active communication between industry, research, and academia. It will have three main features: an industry needs section where industrial partners could post their curricular needs and open jobs positions, an educational offer section where academia could post their educational and training offer, and a pilot site offer when pilot locations and research centers could post their opportunities for knowledge transfer. A set of 9 open access events targeting different audiences such as students, including primary education, high school and university, graduated students, for example, PhDs and postdocs, professionals and unemployed, will be organized, where opportunities in the bioeconomy sector will be presented and tailor-made workshops and activity organized. One trained trainer and one trained student workshop will be also designed, aiming to spread the word about the UrBIOfuture experience as part of the Project Life After plan. All the information regarding the event will be published in the UrBIOfuture website, as well as a calendar with their dates and venues. A set of materials to be used by education organizations, academia, and private sector in order to promote bio careers and train professionals, as brochures, videos, and posters, will be produced. These materials will be digitally available in all the project partners' languages. The UrBIOfuture experience will also offer a guide of international best practices aiming at facilitating cooperation between academia and industry in the bio-based sector. This guide will include brief description of easy-to-implement ideas and approaches that boost industry-academia partnerships and that support proper knowledge transfer. Other main output of the UrBIOfuture project will be a draft of the outline of an educational program, identifying the needed skills and competences at each career stage demanded by the bio-based industry, and not covered yet by the educational offer nowadays. This document aims at enlightening the educational players in each country to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the bio-based economy by training this and the next generations towards these demanded skills and competences. And last but not least, the UrBIOfuture experience will include the results of a case study regarding the opportunities of integrating pilot infrastructure in the educational system, offering an open space for knowledge transfer, as an outline of a program aimed to boost this cooperation between RTOs, academia, and industries.
Thank you very much. So that was it regarding presentations. As you've seen, we are going to have several events that our colleague Maria was talking about. So I would like to take this opportunity to tell you to stay tuned for them. So we are very tight regarding time, but we still have for a couple of questions. If you have any, please send them through the chat. And we received one question from one of the participants, Renata. She was asking whether this program also applies to foreigners who currently live in the EU. And so as an answer to this, yes, it does. So we are, in the end, I mean, foreigners living in the EU are part of the talent that lives in the EU. So they can be students, but they also can be professionals for the bio-based industry. So this program it's got a European scope since it's a European Commission project, but it applies to everyone. And obviously, if it expands even farther than the European Union borders, that's even better. So I don't know if anyone has, so someone also asked now, Santiago, well, by the way, I'm going to turn on my camera now because so you can see me now again, and I'm going to share also the screen so you can see our social media networks and continue following us and staying tuned. So our next webinar, which is going to catch up from more or less this point and explain a bit further about the bioeconomy and also how we are bridging this gap, it's going to be in January. If you stay tuned to our website and to our social media, we will be announcing it. And okay, I think I'm going to give a couple of more minutes in case there is any other question. And otherwise, I really encourage you to follow our social media and our website, where we will be uploading all the materials and all the results of this project. For instance, next week, we hope to have already ready this wonderful mapping of all the educational programs that we identified, and which also, if you have any contribution to that, we will be opening channels, communication channels for you to give us the feedback. Okay, if there is no other questions, we are going to leave it here then. Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope to see you all in our next webinar. Thank you very much.